Okay, sewing fam, as promised, we are going to be doing a video today on threading a serger. We're working today with the Juki MO-654. So if you're ready to thread, I'm ready to teach you how. Let's get started. Okay, so for threading the Juki, we are going to start threading the lower looper first. Generally, you're going to want to start with the lower looper regardless of what machine you're working on. So on the Juki, the lower looper is going to be our blue guides. And then we're going to move to the upper looper, which will be our red guides. Then we'll move to the left needle, which will be our yellow guides, and then the right needle, which will be our green guides. So we're going to go blue, red, yellow, green. Okay, so let's start with the blue. Okay, so before starting any threading, you always want to make sure your serger is turned off. Make sure you have no power. And your knife, you want it to be disengaged. So we're going to put it in the up position. To do that, you're just going to use this little black guy right here, and you're going to turn it. This will engage your knife. Turning it up will disengage your knife. Okay, so you want to have that all in place before you start threading, and you also want to make sure your needles are in the up position. You don't want your needles to be down in your machine like that, okay? So manually turn your hand wheel until your needles are in the up position before you start threading. All right, so we're looking at the top of our machine. I'm actually going to use blue thread through the blue guides. It'll just make it easier to follow. So I'm going to take my blue thread first. We're going to bring it up through this guide, and we're going to put it right through this little guy. We are going to take our blue thread right through this guide here. We're going to pull it right all the way over, and then we're just going to loop and pull it right in there again. And then we're going to pull it down through this guide right here. Snap that right in. And then we're going to pull it down to our tension guide. So next we're going to take our blue thread through our tension disc, our tension dial. And I like to pull it up from the bottom and grab it on both ends and just give it a good tug. That way I make sure it's in there exactly how it needs to be. Then we're just going to take it through the guide right beside there. And then we're going to bring it down next to this guide. And we'll just snap it right in there. Okay. Our next guide is right underneath that. So we're just going to snap it right into that one. Pull that one right in. Okay. And then our next guide is going to be this little guy right down here. We're just going to pull our thread right through that. Okay, to do this one, it's real simple. We're just going to pop that right in there. Pull the thread right out on the other side. Okay, then our next guide is going to be this blue guy right here. We're going to pop our thread right through that. All right, we got our blue thread right through there. Our next guide is going to be this guy right here. And we're going to pop our blue thread right through there. We're going to take this around the back and just kind of pop it right in here. Excuse my hand in the way. But we're just going to pull the thread right around the back and right into that loop there. And then the next thing we're going to do is we are actually going to thread it right through our looper on top. Okay. So now we're going to take it right through this little hole. This is for our upper looper. This one right here is for our lower looper. So we're going to take our blue thread right through this little hole, and we're going to pull the thread out the back. Okay, here's my thread pulled out on the other side, and we are done with our upper looper. Okay, so now we're going to thread our upper looper. Those are going to be our red guides. And I am using white thread for the red guides. So we're going to start the same way we started the lower looper. For the upper looper, you have two red guides. You have the front and the back here. So you're going to take your thread up over the back, and then you're going to bring it up over the front. And then you have your thread here, and we're going to bring it right down here. And we're going to go through all of our red guides. So we're going to work on our top guide right here first. All right, we're just going to take this thread right through here, and then we're going to wrap it around, loop it right through there again, and then we're going to pull it down to our next guide right here, and we're just going to pop our thread right through there. Okay guys, so next we are going to take it right around our dial, our tension dial. And I'm just going to pull up on it a little bit just to make sure it's properly seated in there. And then we're going to take it right over this next guide here and just pull our thread right down there. Okay? All right. Next, we're going to go through this guide right here. And that just snaps right in. And then we're coming down to this next thread guide right here. Okay? And then our next guide is going to be this little guy right here. So we're going to take our thread and just put it right through that little guide. You should have tweezers that came with your machine. Tweezers will make grabbing the thread on the other end and pulling it through a whole lot easier. But for me, I just use my fingers. Okay, so we have our red pulled right through here. And then we are going to take our thread and our next guide we're going to put our red thread through is going to be right over here. Okay, so to make it easier to get my thread through this guide, what I like to do is I'll hit this white little button here and we'll pull this down because we're going to thread it through this guide, and then our next red guide is going to be right up here. So it makes it a lot easier if you just hit that little white button and pull this part of your machine out, and then we'll get threaded through there. All right, so now we're going to take our thread right through this guide here, and we're just going to bring him right over there and pop him right through there. And then we're going to bring him right up. You have a little nick right here. We're just going to bring our thread right up through here and get it caught right in that little spot right there. Okay? And then we are ready to thread our lower looper. Okay, so next we're going to be threading it through this guy right here. Now this is very important. You want this guy to be right on top of your upper looper. So we're going to use our hand wheel and we're going to manually turn it back. We're going to make sure that our thread is behind that guy right there until you see how our lower looper hole is just right on top of our upper looper. This is how we're going to thread our lower looper hole. Okay, here we go. We have our thread through our lower looper, and we're just going to pull that right around to the back. Okay, and we have threaded our lower looper. Okay, so now we're moving on to our needles. We're going to thread first our left needle, which will be yellow, and then our right needle, which will be green. The first few steps are exactly the same as the loopers that you threaded, so I'm going to go through them fairly quickly. First, we're going to put our yellow through our top guide right here. Sorry, it's a little out of focus. There we go. We're going to put it through our yellow guide here, and then we're going to bring it right down here, and we are going to loop it around the yellow guide, just as we did with the blue and with the red earlier. Okay, once we get it looped around our first guide, we're going to take it right around our tension dial. Again, I'm going to grab it in two places and just give it a good tug to make sure it's in there nice and seated correctly. Then we're going to take it through our guide here. I'm going to take it right up top to the yellow guide, bring it around. And now we're going to bring it through this yellow guide here. We're just going to pop that guy right in there. Okay. All right. Next, we're going to bring our yellow thread right over through this little guy here. We're going to take it behind and just pull it forward, just like that. And then we're going to take our thread right through this guy here. And then we are ready to thread our left needle. Okay, once we have our left needle threaded through the hole, I'm just going to do the same thing I did with the looper threads and pull it to the back of my machine. And then we're going to start with our green, which is going to be our right needle. So for your green, up top, you have the two guides. You have the back one and the front one. So you're just going to pull your thread up over the back and then up over the front. Pull this down through your green thread. And then we are going to start by looping it around our first guide, just as we did with every other thread. Okay. Once we got her looped through there, then we're going to take her around the tension dial here. Again, I'm going to pull on both ends just to make sure I have it seated correctly. We're going to take it down through this green guide right here, take it underneath, pull it up. And then we're going to come right over here underneath this one. And then this time we're going to go over the bottom dial. And then we're going to take this guy right through here and just lay it right in there. And then we're going to follow the same thing we did with the yellow. Take it behind that guy and then right beside this guy. And then we're going to go ahead and thread our right needle right through the hole. All right, and we have just threaded the right needle, and as with all of the other threads, I pulled that towards the back. Once I get all 4 threads pulled through the back, I will lift my presser foot and tuck all of those threads under the presser foot, just like this. I will gather all 4 of them up and just kind of tuck them under the presser foot like that, and then just kind of pull them over to the side. Put the presser foot down, and now we are going to re-engage our knife. So we're just going to turn that back down into place. We're going to close up our cover, and I am going to chain off about a foot of thread just to make sure we are threaded correctly before I actually chain. What I'm going to do is manually turn the hand wheel for about 4 or 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and power on my machine and hit the foot pedal and chain off about a foot of thread here. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and chain off a bit of thread. I've powered on my machine, so let's make sure we got it. Okay, and there is our chain. So we are all threaded correctly. If something went wrong for you, let me know in the comments. If something wasn't clear, let me know in the comments. I hope you all found this video helpful. Thank you so much, Sewing Fam, for watching today. And until next time, happy sewing!